Welcome to Jurassic Park.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
No, I am the father.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
I'm just a fucked up girl who's looking for my own peace of mind.
Welcome to the party, pal.
I'll be back.
I'll have what she's having.
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
Here's looking at you, kid.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Hello, and welcome to the BanterFlix podcast. We need to talk about Disney. My name is Victoria, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Maria McClean.
Hello.
Hi, Maria. Today, we are joined by none other than Jim McClean.
Yoo-hoo!
I
should have done that.
I've been thinking about this all day. I finally get the chance. Woohoo! Peak summer blowout.
Can't do it. I can't do the accent.
Neither can I.
I don't think any of us can. We're Northern Irish. We're not good at that. We're here tonight to talk about the Disney classic now, Frozen from 2013. And to give you a little taste, here's a little clip from the film.
Yeah!
Hang on. We like to go fast.
I like fast.
Whoa. Get your feet down. This is fresh lacquer. Seriously, were you raised in a barn?
No, I was raised in a castle.
So, tell me, what made the queen go all ice crazy?
Oh, well, it was all my fault. I got engaged, but then she freaked out because I'd only just met him, that day, and she said she wouldn't bless the marriage.
Wait, you got engaged to someone you just met that day?
Yeah, anyway, I got mad, and so she got mad, and then she tried to walk away, and I grabbed her glove.
Hang on. You mean to tell me you got engaged to someone you just met that day?
Yes, pay attention. But the thing is, she wore the gloves all the time. So I just thought maybe she has a thing about dirt.
Didn't your parents ever warn you about strangers?
Yes, they did. But Hans is not a stranger.
Oh, yeah? What's his last name?
Of the Southern Isles.
What's his favorite food?
Sandwiches.
Best friend's name?
Probably John.
Eye color.
Dreamy.
Foot size?
Foot size doesn't matter.
Have you had a meal with him yet? What if you hate the way he eats? What if you hate the way he picks his nose?
Picks his nose?
And eats it.
Excuse me, sir. He is a prince.
All men do it.
Ew. Look, it doesn't matter. It's true love.
Doesn't sound like true love.
Are you some sort of love expert?
No, but I have friends who are.
You have friends who are love experts.
So that is a clip of 2013's Frozen. Before we get into it, I just want to do a wee bit of an intro into the film in case you haven't watched it for a while. Frozen follows Anna, who is the second princess of Arendelle, as she fights to protect her kingdom from her sister, who has just found out that she has magical ice powers and has transformed the entire kingdom into an icy, barren landscape. Very hardcore for a Disney film. So this film had its 10-year anniversary last year, but it came out when I was in, I want to say, lower sick, which feels like a lifetime to me ago now. Do you remember the first time you saw Frozen? Like, did you watch it when it first came out, or did you kind of wait a couple of years before it while the hype died down?
I have a very particular story about going to see Frozen in 2013 when it came out. I'll set the scene. I'm at the Jet Centre in Coleraine. I'm there with two of my siblings. It's a classic cinema. I think it has only recently become a movie house cinema. At a certain pivotal moment of the film, everything goes very quiet because everyone's in awe of what Anna's just done. And then with the bit where she starts to melt, a wee kid piped up from the back of the cinema going, "How's that work?" And the entire cinema laughed. And needless to say, it was what I thought about when I watched it again this time. What about you, Jim and Victoria?
I vividly remember going to see this at the Odyssey Cinema in and around, I don't know whether it had just been released. It was on my birthday, 2013. I had just managed to talk myself out of getting a parking ticket from a police officer. I went through, I think I went through either a yellow light or a red light. I went through a yellow. The policeman stopped me and said, I think, mate, you went through a red. And me being me, I know I come across as this ultra lovely, cuddly, chappy kind of guy. Someone you want to go for a pint with. I was like, nah, mate, hang on. I know I went through a yellow. My mother-in-law was in the car. My wife was in the car. I was like, don't fight with him. Don't fight. I was like, no, because I know I was right. And went through, and he went back to his car, reviewed the footage. I'm going to go back and review the footage. And he went back, and he came back, said, let me see your driving license. And it was on my birthday, and he was like, yeah, since it's your birthday, let you go for it, let you away. So went to that, and I was feeling like girl power, all that kind of stuff. And went to the cinema and saw Frozen and loved it. And so did my lovely wife, and so did my lovely mother-in-law. Because there's a photograph of her somewhere in the Odyssey posing with like the big kind of cardboard cutout of from Frozen, and because it was in around, we were recording this in around when it was my birthday, and that popped up as a memory. I was like, oh yeah, I remember when I went to see Frozen. So I don't know if it was just right on release, but saw it in the cinema, loved it, thoroughly enjoyed it. Top tier Disney for me.
Both of your stories are a lot more interesting than mine. Anyone listening from Northern Ireland, everybody has everyone's dad has a dodgy friend who can get dodgy movies for free. That's how I watched Frozen. We had it on a little like crappy USB stick, and our sixth form like study room had a big widescreen TV, and there was a bunch of us had a study period at the same time, so we just stuck Frozen on the USB and watched it like while we were meant to be revising.
Nice.
And because I've never actually seen Frozen on a big screen, and I feel like that would have added to it, but I was the same. I absolutely loved it. Like it's like Jim said, top tier Disney. It's up there. Like
these are all excellent stories about how to watch this film for the first time.
This is the movie podcast here. Speak to Victoria's mate. Whatever you want. Whether it's just been out in the cinema a week or so ago, might be at a wonky angle, might be a few people walking out in front of the camera, but telling you, the cinematography from that bootleg copy, amazing, mate.
It was actually a very good quality copy. One of the things I love about this film is it's the first Disney like full-length feature that was directed or co-directed by a woman, Jennifer Lee. She came onto the project quite late, so Frozen had kind of been in the works as an idea from the Hans Christian Andersen book, The Snow Queen, which was written back in 1844. But Walt Disney loved the story, and he was looking at adapting it even before Snow White, which is back in the mid-30s. So it's been in the Disney vault for a long, long time. It never really got off the ground. They went with Snow White first because they thought it was a bit more of a recognizable fairy tale. They tried to resurrect it with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer in the 40s, and then World War II hit, so it was shelved. Kept happening multiple times until the late 2010s, where they were like, right, just had Tangled, we just had Princess and the Frog. It's finally time to get into the Snow Queen. And they spent months and months trying to come up with a story and just couldn't. They wanted something that was relatable, they wanted something that was pure Disney, but the Snow Queen was such a dark tale that they were struggling to kind of not only make it relatable, but make it like not Black Cauldron kind of level scary. But it was only really when Jennifer Lee was brought on board after she co-wrote Wreck-It Ralph that the story kind of became what it did. And they brought in the husband and wife songwriting team. They brought in Christopher Buck, who worked on Tarzan. They brought in the guy whose name I've forgotten now, apologies. He was the art director of Pocahontas, and all these people kind of came together to create what we have now. And in terms of casting, like I don't know what. Do you ever have like an actress that just does your head in, but you don't know why? Kristen Bell is that for me, but I do like her as Anna. I don't know if anyone else has that. But they also brought in Idina Menzel, who obviously of Wicked fame, famously played Elphaba, and apparently a big driver with the song lyrics and the kind of bombastic, epic approach they took. They wanted to hark back to the Disney Renaissance, which we kind of covered on and off during our Disney series, but that was Disney's massive, massive renaissance where they found their feet again. They found all these epic tales, and a lot of that came down to incorporating music as a storytelling device. So anytime the storytellers were like stuck on what to do, they just thought back to the men of old and thought, what would Howard Ashman and Alan Menken do? And I think they achieved that really well. Like the main thing with Frozen is the songs. Like, what do you guys think of the songs? Like 10 years on, do they still resonate with you?
Oh, they're still bangers. I mean, everyone loves a bit of Let It Go. And I guess it's because you look at the fact you have Wicked Part 1 out in cinemas now, and you look at Wicked when it was on Broadway, like particularly like films like Frozen Part 2, Moana, I guess, as well. You look at how that was kind of, not only was that Disney, but it was, you could see the inspirations from Broadway. So when you're watching, you mentioned you have Idina Menzel, and of course then you're going to bring the comparisons in because she's Elphaba in Wicked, and you can kind of see that makes sense. And it's weird watching Wicked now. You could go, sorry, when you're watching Frozen now, you go, oh yeah, this would work really well on the stage. And you can kind of think, of course, Disney have went and done that, I think, with mixed results. I mean, the success of Frozen on Broadway has not copied the likes of Aladdin or other like the Lion Kings or stuff like that. But those songs are proper bangers. And what I love about the film is that how quickly, two things, and I know I don't want to be the talky person, but it's how it's an hour and 42 minutes. And not only, it's not like the film stops and the music numbers take place. The music numbers actually move the plot along. Kind of come back to what you said. So when I rewatch this for the telly show, it's like I keep forgetting how pacey for an hour and 42, an hour and a half, hour and 42 Frozen, how kind of quickly it gets to ultimate. Well, I'm not going to say it's ultimate banger because of a hot take that maybe can come on later. But Let It Go, when it gets there, you've already had proper bangers after, you know, the start with all the romance and stuff. What have I meet? The one. Hang in there, Joan. All that stuff. You've already had that. But by the time you get to Let It Go, I think there's only about half an hour of the film. It feels like it gallops through its runtime for me anyway. Anyway, sorry, I went off on a full kind of, just let it go, kids. Sorry.
I think for me, like, I'd kind of forgotten that Frozen had an opening number. You know, like, I'd completely forgotten about, like, the all-male, like, chanting song that it starts with. And I was like, because when I started watching it on Sunday, I was like, there were so many points where I felt like I'd forgotten that. But yeah, I was singing along with Love is an Open Door, which, upon rewatch, has some sinister lines in it. Because I think, like, every time. Actually, no, I'll not get into this song just yet. I have a lot of feelings on this song in particular. But yeah, there was like quite a few of them that I was like, I'd forgotten how good these were. Like you say, kind of moving the plot along or helping us to understand a character. Like Olaf's song.
In summer.
Exactly. Um, his song is so good, and it's like, oh, he's a silly little creature with a heart of gold. You know, like there's and like that's his character set up for the whole film. Um, and then again, like bit of a fixer-upper. Like I'd forgotten again how much of a banger that song is as well. But yeah, there was like I think there was like one or two of them that I was like I'd forgotten about them for a reason, but there's still so many good ones. And Let It Go, of course. I don't know if either of you are familiar with the video game Kingdom Hearts.
No.
It's a Disney video game which is made by the company that makes Final Fantasy. And in the most recent one, they recreated the Let It Go scene from Frozen, so you watch it the whole way through with the characters from the game. Yeah, which was pretty incredible on a PS5.
Do any of you remember the Academy Awards when Let It Go was up for the Oscar and they had all the... I'm not sure if it was for the Academy Awards, and I think actually I'm tangenting because they did Into the Unknown. I think when they did that for the Oscars, they had all the different Elsas from the various kind of voiceover artists. I think they did that, but I know for Let It Go, maybe Disney just released a video online, and it's all the different variations, and yeah, it's a tune. It's a song that it's like Defying Gravity. I think it's its own thing now, and it always never fails to put a smile on my face. As does Do You Want to Build a Snowman, Elsa? And I like how that's been referenced into a little meme with Bad Boys. If you watch his little Bad Boys meme with or a little video, they've put the two together with Elsa and Bad Boys, and it makes me laugh every time because I'm a bad person. I'm 42-year-old. I'm 42, but I'm secretly 5.
When I was watching that scene, was vividly reminded of the many Facebook memes where it was like, and then it would be like, "Here's Johnny" or something like that.
My personal favourite, though, other than the Bad Boys, is the one, just to go full Northern Irish, because we're nearly at the anniversary of that successful flag event at Belfast City Hall, where we have the "No Surrender!" that lovely lady, that cultured lady that she was. But anyway, we'll leave that stuff to Slugger O'Toole.
Oh man, I'd forgotten about that meme. So good. So simple, so pure, so good.
The only one that tops it is when they do it in Elf, when he's opening Little Jack-a-Box.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Mm-hmm.
On this Christmas special, let's get all political. Do you like the songs, Brian? Did you like the songs on your dodgy bootleg version?
I did, and they were good quality on my dodgy bootleg version. Even now, like, I have a positivity playlist on my Spotify that I listen to when I'm sad, and it's like 90% Disney, but like the entire Frozen soundtrack is on that. But my she'll not be the only one. I've mentioned her on the podcast before. My lovely mum hates Let It Go with passion. Hear her out. She worked in a nursery when it first came out, so it's all she heard. And I remember, anyone that remembers the Disney store in Belfast City Centre before it closed down, I went in one day when I was meant to be in a lecture, and the whole store was empty, and the girl behind the till didn't realise I was there. And Let It Go started playing, like the little piano intro, and the girl behind the till just went, "For fuck's sake." Bless her, and she saw me and she was like, "Oh, hi," like all bubbly.
Have either of you got to open the Disney store?
No.
That was always the dream for me. I remember the week it was closing, we were trying to arrange to get my mother-in-law down like stupidly early, drop her down to Belfast City Centre for like 4 a.m. They just wait outside, wait till it opens. Still, you get to be the last person, because I think the last person to open the Disney store got to get to keep the big giant key, but it wasn't, sadly, my mother-in-law.
Oh, that's so cool, and also really sad. I think there's a Tesco or something now there.
That is correct.
Yes. Where little children often go round, and that lady can often be heard going, "For fuck's sake," at Tesco for different reasons now.
I think it reminds me of that meme of like one supreme falls, another rises. You know. Yeah, God, I'd forgotten. Yeah, I used to go quite often to that Disney store, and as a student, couldn't really buy a lot because it was quite expensive.
I always like to go in. I always like to go into the Frozen shop. Well, that's what it became. I like to go into the Disney shop kind of around Christmas time and get all, because you always had the really good Disney ornaments, and then it was always like my fail safe. I'll get a present from my lovely wife, then girlfriend, then fiance. There at some point. Yeah, she's got a few little Christmas ornaments and stuff and little plushies over the years. Sadly, no more. Now we get each other air fryers.
That's how you know you're a true adult.
Yeah, true love. Would you like an air fryer with 2 separate compartments? Be still my beating heart. Hey, I'm saying this, right? I know it's up to Christmas. I know we have got a heated error as our Christmas gift this year. As our gift from the house. That's, that's when you know in your 40s, kids. All ahead of you.
That kind of actually leads me nicely into one of my points. I think one of the reasons Frozen did as well as it did and continues to do as well as it does is it has all the elements of a classic Disney film, but the main crux of the story is not a romantic love. It's a sisterly sisterhood bond. Like the ultimate sacrifice that Anna could make is for her sister, not for her prince or her true love. Like her true love is Elsa, and we hadn't really seen a sibling relationship on screen with Disney since like Lilo and Stitch, and even then there was such a massive age gap between Nani and Lilo. Like they kind of felt more like mother and daughter at some bits. So I remember one of the main takeaways I had from Frozen was just how lovely it was to see like siblings on screen, because I have two sisters and I'm not exaggerating when I say I would die for them. So it's nice to see that kind of different relationship on screen, because Disney is so focused on the whole true love thing, which kind of leads us into the plot twist. Did you see it coming?
The first time I watched it, absolutely not. The Jet Center was shook, um, repeatedly, I think. But this time watching it, when I was like watching it, I was like, they really don't like. There's not a lot of breadcrumbs in a good way. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I'll get into my thoughts on him further. What did you guys suspect the first time you watched it?
Not a thing. Not a thing. And I think they play it really, because I was kind of like going, oh, this is quite nice. You don't have an outright villain. And I kind of like being the guy in the room, I'll make the point, but I quite like the subtle layers of feminism that are layered within Frozen, and I guess even more so within Frozen 2, which is a film I have issues with. As much as I'm praising it, I think Frozen 2 is problematic. How much you want to talk about that, I don't know. But no, I didn't see this. I like Anna fell for Dreamboat. It's it is Hans, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I fell for Dreamboat Hans because they finish each other's sandwiches. That's true love. Just before you get to the layer of life where you get to buy, not presents for each other, but presents for the house, and it's a heated error, you buy each other sandwiches. That's what I thought. No, I didn't see it. Did you see it? I mean, I know you said you didn't read it. Did you, Brian?
No, not at all. And I'm the same as Maria. Like the first time I watched it, I was in such shock that it took me a while to kind of get back into the story, because I was like, where did that come from? And then when I rewatched it, I was looking for the breadcrumbs, and there weren't that many obvious ones, but there were enough wee things there that it felt like you earned that twist. Like it didn't come out of nowhere. Like when you rewatch it, you're like, oh, that's a red flag. That's a bit suspicious. Why is he doing that kind of thing? So because there are some films with plot twists that just come out of nowhere that don't make any sense, but this one really did. And I loved that Anna not only stood her ground once she realized what a shithead Hans was, but also ended up falling in love with Kristoff, who is just such a positive representation of like masculinity in Disney, because Disney are so big, brawn men with big muscles, and they're really handsome. But like Kristoff's just a normal guy, and I think especially for a lot of young boys watching that, like Kristoff's just a regular guy who's a nice person, and I think that's a really good message out there for young boys. Because again, with Disney, when people think Disney, they think little girls, but little boys watch this too, and it's good for them to kind of see positive representations of men that they can aspire to grow up and be like. Ideally not Hans, but we can't control what kids grow up to be.
No, you can't, but the more I watch Frozen, the more I absolutely love Kristoff's character. And again, I know I've mentioned Frozen 2, I'll mention it again. The fact that you have him in the second film singing about his feelings and how, and it's not just his feelings, but his insecurities. I think that's great for, like, whether you're 42, like me, damn it, 42 now, I can't say 41. If you're 42, you're hearing Kristoff sing that. If you're 5, a 5-year-old wee lad watching that at the cinema, that's great. And I think it's really important to talk about the kind of the sisterly love between Elsa and Anna, but Kristoff is such a really understated. I know he's a big part of Frozen, but I think his character, all the things you said, Victoria, are so important. And I know the directors and the writers have talked about all the kind of things that they wanted to look at, all the Disney trends and all the kind of the cliches, and maybe not twist them but play with them. And yeah, he's just and I don't want to say that like he's not like a, I know I'm going to be the elephant in the room. He's not like the woke modern man in this. He's just a normal guy who is insecure, in touch with his feelings, and yeah, he just loves ice and reindeer. But he's genuinely, he's such an important part of within Frozen. And I think when we look at past the two sisters, it's really, I think we talk about the sisters, we talk about little Olaf, he loves cuddles and warm hugs. But Kristoff's really important part of Frozen. Got your back, bro.
I think just off the back of that, obviously in any story, the characters are what drives it, but a big part of Frozen is the landscape and how the animators were able to create this hyper realistic and yet believable world. When I was doing a wee bit of research for the podcast, I found out the kind of color scheme that they used was actually inspired by Black Narcissus, which I did not expect. Yeah, that's a
you can see
very
it though.
random one. You can, as soon as I read it, I was like, that makes complete sense. And the way Disney, they've had obviously hand-drawn films that have snow in it. Like there's a very famous scene obviously in Bambi where they have snow, but you know it's drawn. So one of the animators' biggest challenges was, how the fuck do you make snow look realistic in computer animation? So Disney arranged for a bunch of the animators to go to Norway to try and like figure out, how do you walk in the snow? What shapes does the snow make? How do you hold snow? How does snow fall? They sent them to an ice hotel in Canada so they could learn how the ice and the light kind of reflect off each other. Like,
Victoria, do you think these animators took the piss and they were like, we don't know what snow's like. Oh, we've got to go to Norway. Oh, we've got to go to a frozen bar. Oh, okay. I don't know if I could wash. I can't wash snow. I can't wash snow. Can I go to an ice bar? Go ahead. Go in and speak to Mickey Mouse and he's writing his check. Of course.
If Disney are going to pay for you to go to Norway, are you going to say no?
Of course not. I'm going to say I'm going to have to go to an ice. I'm going to have to go to an ice bar somewhere else. Oh, by the way, there might be some. Yeah, there might be some snow in Hawaii. It's like, oh, okay.
We have to see how heat interacts with snow. It's critical to the plot.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I was like, that was the thing that struck me when I watched the film, was the animation, it looks really well, but there was something about it that I was like, I'm really reminded of the Barbie films I watched as a kid, and I don't know why. And like, I think part of that is the kind of aesthetic style of the characters. There was something about it, like just, I can't remember what scene in particular, but the thing that struck me more was like how architectural the film was. Because like you have so many buildings that are like focus points for different parts of the story, and like Elsa's castle, like you see every detail as it's being built, you know? And I'd forgotten that, you know. It sounds really dumb, but I'd forgotten how much of a focus is on buildings and like the effects of weather on buildings and people, and it was really fun to see, like because everybody's in quite summery clothing, then they have to wear wintry clothing, and like the color palette completely changes in the film as well, and it was I could talk about this for ages. The paintings there was so many nice smaller details, which I hope Mickey Mouse was generous in his field trips for.
You have to go. We don't know what a castle looks like. You've got to go to Transylvania. We don't know what a painting looks like. Go to I don't know, the Louvre. The Louvre.
Go to the Guggenheim.
Yeah.
Whee!
Talking about the style of the film, I do love the kind of manga-esque look for the central characters, kind of the big kind of wide eyes that we see, because it's very effective, particularly kind of when you're trying to get to the emotive scenes. But it's kind of interesting. You see Disney now, they're drawing from Asia, from manga now for their kind of stuff, because it's a different look to, say, not that different, I guess, to Moana. Because I guess there's Frozen, Moana, they are two. You've had kind of Disney Pixar, then you had these two that were seen as breaking the mold. I don't know if either of you have seen Moana 2. I think Moana 2's a better sequel to Moana than Frozen 2 was. I think they had more of an idea of what they wanted to do with that character. I think with Frozen 2, they kind of they threw a lot of ideas into the mix, and they get even bigger banger with Into the Unknown, which I can often be found playing in my car, just for my little positivity mix, Victoria. But yeah, it's interesting when you look at kind of how the animation for 11 years still holds up. Holds up. And even, I guess, I know I keep mentioning Frozen 2, because there's snow, and what animators always talk about, big things that you mentioned with snow, but water, sorry, to go full Pygmalion. And there's so many sequences in Frozen 2. Well, there's a sequence where there's the big kind of all the water, then it's the kind of the frozen horse that Elsa's riding on. And I mean, that water, it's photorealistic. It's like when you see Cars 3, when you go, wow. Even in the short time of between Frozen was 2013, Frozen 2's 2019. Am I gonna get the right, or is it earlier than that? Would it be about 5 years ago? 2019, you go, wow, even in that short space of time, how much everything has kind of come on. So we know there's a Frozen 3 and a Frozen 4. They've greenlit them both back to back. I think they're going to either film them back to back. It's going to be amazing to see how far the animation has come on even further since then.
What intrigues me is, where's the story going to go? Because I'm kind of like you, Jim. I do like Frozen 2. I enjoyed it, but I feel like sometimes with sequels, a lot of what's in the second one especially is leftover ideas from the first one that didn't really have a place, and they kind of try to mold it into a story for the second one, and it doesn't really work, but you can see what they're trying to do, if that makes sense.
I just get a sense Frozen was just massive for Disney, so it meant a case. I don't think you look at Frozen. And maybe, look, okay, Toy Story, you can go, you've had so many Toy Story, 4? I think you're going to have 5 at some point. You go, Toy Story kind of told its own story from A to Z in the first Toy Story. Yes, sequels are great, and we love the sequels, but Frozen is kind of like, you look at it, rewatch it, because it's a start, it's got a middle, it's got an end. Thank you very much. We can move on to our next Disney story. But the sheer box office success meant we've got a sequel. We have to get you always hear producers talking about this. We've got to get it out while it's still in their mind. There's some brilliant ideas in Frozen 2, in that sense of kind of the inevitability about you can't fight change. The idea, of course, of how we romanticize and how we look back at what our ancestors did and how we can make up for their mistakes. I just think in the grand scheme of things, the main characters kind of get lost in the mix a little bit. But hey, Into the Unknown, kids, is a banger. It's a banger. I think it is. And you've got the little gecko guy, Far Guy. Who doesn't like him? Who doesn't like him?
Maria, how do you feel about this sequel and the third and fourth one, apparently?
I honestly, like, you could hold a gun to my head and I couldn't tell you what happened in the second film. Like I don't remember it. I'm trying to Google it right now. I know she sings Into the Unknown and I really enjoyed that. Actually, that was absolutely on my playlist of 2019. Um but like yeah, I've no I can't really remember. I was looking up and I was like, "Oh yeah, there's a magical horse in this one." And I was like, that was put in for the horse girls. Like
Yes.
that was a toy that was a canny toy decision.
Yeah.
Um but in terms of the sequels, I'm like, I don't really know where you could go with the series. Like, they've put it as, I think it would probably work better as a TV series at this point. Because you could be like, oh my God, it's Elsa off on the adventures in the forest. Because I just go, like, I literally read the last line just before you asked the question. And I, I don't know, like, I actually personally have no interest in seeing Moana 2. I did not enjoy Moana 1. But I think a part of that was my viewing experience, which was I watched Moana on an international flight, and you kind of lose the beauty of animation when you're watching it 6 hours into a flight, um, where you're really uncomfortable. The screen's here because the person in front of you has gone all the way back.
Key question. You say that's 6 hours into your flight. So what were you watching for the first 6 hours before you went, let's throw on Moana? As the co-host of the We Need to Talk About Disney pod, what were you watching before you went, oh, here's a Disney movie? I'm going to be honest, I don't love Moana as much as other people do. I only seen Moana for the first time a couple of weeks ago because we were going to do Moana 2 for the TV show. I know the songs. I know Lin-Manuel Miranda, I think, is involved, and I don't know if it's all the songs, but definitely a few of the songs. I can get, again, it's all the things I'm talking about Frozen, all the things about representation, all the things about kind of breaking away from Disney princesses, but yet it is still Disney telling this story, and I guess as authentic as way as they possibly can do, but, well, maybe, it's... let's not go down that way. But no, what were you watching before you decided, let's put on... Because Brian will judge you if it's like Bad Boys 2.
So I like Bad Boys 2. We do Bad Boys 2.
I think if I'm remembering correctly, I was on a flight to Florida or on a flight back from Florida. It was a very, very long, I think it was like a 9-hour flight. And I think for the first couple hours, I sat next to my brother, and I think we watched the Lego Batman film together because that was the film he would watch.
It's all good. It's all good.
I think it's that one. I think I then watched Moana, and then I think I watched Table 17.
Oh.
And it was so bad that, like, I think that's kind of, again, I watched 2 movies I didn't really like back to back.
Lego Batman I'm going to give you, but Table 17, I remember we reviewed it on the TV show. That's a bad film. You chose that above Moana, Maria.
Oh no, I watched it after Moana.
Sorry.
It was the tail end of a viewing experience. Like, I think
that's worse.
Yeah, my sister had been watching it, and she's like, "Oh, Anna Kendrick's in it. We both like Anna Kendrick." And she watched it. She wasn't the same row as me, so I couldn't ask her opinion. But yeah, it wasn't a good flight. Bad viewing experience overall. I've had bad experiences with watching. I don't think I've ever watched a film on a flight that I've really enjoyed. And it was a prime example. I don't know, maybe if I watched Moana today I'd like it, but it's in a special compartment in my brain.
I haven't actually watched it yet.
Moana?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's okay. Like,
I'm so far behind in the new Disney ones. Like, I haven't seen Moana. I haven't seen Raya, and is it The Last Dragon?
Yeah, I've not watched that.
Haven't seen Elemental, haven't seen Onward. I don't think that's Pixar, but I did recently watch Luca for the first time and absolutely loved it. It's so wholesome and cute. It's such a nice, cute Disney film, and I feel like it kind of goes under the radar a wee bit. I'm not even sure what it's come out.
Luca's good. Well, it didn't get. It's another one of those Pixar titles that went straight to Disney Plus. Because I think it was. A lot of them kind of during COVID kind of bypassed cinemas, went straight to Disney Plus, Pixar were not too happy about this, and then of course they then said, well, we'll fix it, we'll put Lightyear in the cinemas, and it bombed. And I'm trying to think, what was the last, wasn't it a sequel? What was the last Pixar? I know they had Elemental, which I loved. I know the lovely Dr. Juliana Monteverdi did not like it when we had it on the TV show. We got into discussion about it. I blubbed during the end of Elemental, but that's just me. I blub at the drop of a hat. And if you know Elemental, you'll also know that that's relevant to the plot because, just like Kristoff, I'm in touch with my feelings. But I know we've had more. I think we've had a few Pixar movies. Well, we have had Inside Out 2, yeah.
Yeah, sobbed like a baby at that.
I didn't like Inside Out 2 as much as the first one.
I will say, I do think pre-COVID for me was the last time I really engaged with Disney animated versus Pixar animated.
Yeah.
And I think Frozen 2 was the last one I saw in the cinemas, or amongst the last. And I wonder if that's, because I watched Inside Out 2 and I enjoyed it. I think there's a lot of really good elements to it.
I think, did we have you on the TV show talking about Inside Out 2?
Yes, I was, yeah. But I also was kind of this is fine. It's a serviceable sequel, but there's no enthusiasm, I think, for me.
No, apart from one speech by Joy, Inside Out 2's just there's too much. I think a bit like Frozen 2, they tried, the first Inside Out film is on this Christmas pod where we talk about Frozen, is the first Inside Out is really simple. It's like Frozen. It's like they know exactly what they want to do. We have a young girl who's going to separate from her friend. She's going to San Francisco. She's not happy. She hates the fact of broccoli, I think, on pizza, and what's going on inside her head. And then in Inside Out 2, they try to kind of sum up puberty in an hour and 40 minutes. There's too much going on. Don't get me wrong, there's really powerful stuff in it, like the sequence where she's in the ice hockey match.
Yes.
She goes into she has a bit of a panic attack, or is it a panic, I think? And it works really well, but I think there's just too much. It's like Frozen 2, bringing it back, kind of. They try to throw so many ideas. I just don't think they had a clean enough idea to come back for a sequel. The first Frozen, really effective, really simple. It's we have Elsa, she's struggling with her powers. Her parents go off, die. Some say they possibly ended up, is it raising Pocahontas? I always forget. You two are going to know this theory, aren't you?
So there's another theory I'd like to bring up, actually, now that you've mentioned it.
Okay.
But I'll do it after we discuss this one.
Isn't that the theory? So their ship is the ship that the mother and father in Pocahontas, or is it just the mother in Pocahontas?
Tarzan.
No. Tarzan. Sorry.
Yeah, supposedly their ship is the one that got shipwrecked on the island where Tarzan ended up being, and then they get killed by the jaguar thing. It's nonsense.
So you're saying that's not? You're saying it's fake news, Brian?
You heard it here first.
Alternative facts.
I'd like to bring up the Reddit theory I found whenever I was Googling Frozen for this film just before I started watching it on Sunday. And one of them is, I was Googling, it was what hints are there that Hans is evil? Or he's the bad guy? Because I was from watching it, the only thing I can see is love is an open door. Because he keeps singing. She's like, oh, I love you, and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I found my place. AKA, he's found a pretty good pad that he's going to steal. I was like, oh, that's actually really well done. And again, he's trying to synchronize with her all the time and be as quirky, but he's not quite, But one of them is a theory that whenever they sing he's a bit of a fixer-upper, the trolls curse Hans. So this is the Reddit theory, is that Hans is cursed by the trolls in that song. And he's the perfect partner before that, and then after that is whenever he turns evil. And it was quite funny to see people fighting it out on the Disney Reddit.
So does this mean, Maria, the true villains of Frozen are in fact the trolls who pop up in Frozen 2 as well?
Yeah.
You know what I found out when I was doing research for this? The Troll King is played by Kieran Hines.
I thought Kieran Hines was the father in the first one. I thought he did the
So did
voice.
I, until I checked the cast list, and I was like, that can't be right. So when I was rewatching it, I was like, oh, that is Kieran.
That's
What
incredible.
about you there? It's me, Kieran Hines.
Just introduces himself by his full name to Anna. Oh.
God, that's
Before
incredible.
before we finish up, I do have one again theory that's kind of explored in Frozen 2, but not really. It's kind of done in this subtle Disney way. When Frozen came out, obviously positive reviews were flying everywhere. Everybody loved it, except for one very specific group of conservatives who thought that Elsa was gay and that Let It Go was her like coming out song. And like as a queer person myself, I can understand where that reading comes from. And especially when you think about the fact that the songwriters were inspired by Howard Ashman, who himself was gay and passed away from AIDS, sadly. You can see where people would get that kind of theory from. And when Frozen 2 was announced, everybody online was like, are they going to give Elsa a girlfriend? Are they going to make her explicitly gay? What are they going to do? They kind of hint at it, but not enough for people to definitively say yes. So I want your opinions on it. Do you think Elsa is queer?
I don't really care if she's queer or not. And I don't mean that. And I don't want to sound like I'm being like, oh, I don't want representation. But it's like I don't care if she's straight, she's gay, she's non-binary, or well, that's not sexuality. If she's I don't know, poly, I don't know. I don't care. It's like she's Elsa. I mean, I do because funny when I rewatch Frozen 2, you kind of see there's a character she meets up in the other place that's not the kingdom. That I watched this yesterday. I should remember this. Then they kind of go, oh, there's a bit of a connection there. Kristoff gets, Kristoff could be bi because he meets another guy who talks to reindeer. He's like, you talk to reindeer? I talk to reindeer. And they hit it off big time. You can throw subtext into all of them. Is Olaf gay? Is he straight? Who really cares? Does sexuality at any play a role into this story? I don't care. It's just, hey, the last time we did this for Halloween, we managed to bring in Mega. It's the old Trump group that just go, oh, this is Disney trying to kind of, ruin our children's childhood. Fuck up. If she's gay, she's gay. If she's straight, she's straight. Who really? I would like to see it for representation levels, and as a fact that if they did it in Frozen 3 and there's like no big, like I always come back to Beauty and the Beast, the live action remake, and it's like Disney were like Mickey Mouse and Pluto were like, we're gonna have an LGBTQ plus representation, and this is going to be an LGBTQ plus character 1 second near the end of the film, and it's a little like, I give you a little peck on the cheek. Wow. How progressive. Walt would be so proud. But if they just did it, and I know other Disney movies have they kind of hinted at a little bit in Inside Out too. I remember, I think when we talked, when one of the trailers, they go, oh, are they going to do that? They didn't really, but they do hint at it a little bit in Inside Out 2. But if they just did it, and then it was no way connected to the plot, no real references to it, just have someone, and it feels stupid saying, like, just be gay. Just,
That's what I want. Every queer story, most queer stories you see on screen are defined by the fact that the character is queer. Their journey is explicitly connected to the fact that they're queer. Sometimes you can just be yourself and go about your normal plot storyline, and it doesn't have anything to do with your sexuality. It doesn't need to be intricately tied into what you're experiencing. Yeah. So if they were going to make Elsa queer, I'd like it to not be a big thing. Like, she could just have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a non-binary friend, like whatever person she chooses to be with. Like, I feel like if Disney tried a bit too hard, it might feel very forced, but I don't even know if they would go as far as doing that. Like, even with Agatha All Along, there's a lot of queer text and subtext, but they still haven't explicitly came out and said it.
That's about as subtle as hitting you about in the face. And I don't mean that. I love Agatha. I always get the name of it wrong. Agatha. It's not Agatha all along, is it? It's Agatha.
Is it not?
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I always thought I'd get it wrong. But hey, when you're gonna have, I happen to just love Aubrey Plaza, so she can do whatever she wants, and I would recommend anybody watching it. She can do whatever she wants. And funny, there's a film we talked about in the TV show recently, My Old Ass. It's on, not My Old Ass, but it's on Amazon Prime. Aubrey Plaza. It's not perfect by any means, but what I love in that there, you've got a character who at the start of the film, it's not a plot point. And I know I'm slightly spoilerific, but it's someone who is queer, and by the end of the film they're like, I don't know, it's like about my sexuality anymore, and you're like, well, you're a teenager, you're not meant to have all the fucking answers right now. And I think it's great, and it's got Aubrey Plaza, so I would recommend watching that. But I love the fact that Elsa has kind of become a kind of queer pop culture, a queer icon in that sense. A lot of people have threw a lot of their own subtext into that character, and I do like that. I just don't think, and I wouldn't want Disney to capitalize on that and do it half-heartedly and not have the courage to go full halt with it, but also not be like, she may be gay, maybe she is, maybe she's not. Schrödinger's lesbian. I don't know. I couldn't think of something. I couldn't think of it.
Like, Idina Menzel is obviously chosen for the part because she has an incredible voice. And obviously people would look at the character, like a song like Let It Go, which is about being true to yourself. She's very popular in the gay community. Like, it's her, gay bars are the only place I've ever heard her music being played. Do you know what I mean?
You
but
haven't
like,
been round my house, Maria.
Other than private residences.
Yeah.
But like, Let It Go. And I think it's Show Yourself in the second film that people were like, that's another kind of like gay anthem. And I think that's the thing about it though, is that like, if they're gonna do it, because in the first film they make such a point of it being like, you can't marry a man you've just met. Like, there's a real like, we're being progressive here button that they kept hitting. Because like, I think Kristoff says it like 3 times in one conversation. And unfortunately, I just don't think Disney has the chops to deal with it. Like, I don't think they could do it justice. And I think the more they leave little tiny, tiny bits being like, well, we've got a gay character here and they're gone, like it just kind of proves again, I don't think I'd want them to do a queer animated character because I don't think they do it right. I'd love to see Studio Ghibli or somebody else do it because I feel like they'd actually be like, what are the experiences of a queer person? Do you know? Whereas I feel like Disney would be like, how can we make this as sanitized as possible so the McKinsey family from Milwaukee isn't offended by this movie? Do you know what I mean?
But also, how can we make money from it?
Yeah.
That's what it's going to come down to with Disney, is how can we make money from it? Because Show Yourself is the other song I love, and I know anytime I watch it, my lovely wife, we sat and watched this, she always, the first time we saw it in the cinema, she had a full-on emotional breakdown during it, and we watched it last night. It's like, okay, we need to stop the movie, you need a little hug, because there's loads of things, because people bring their own personal that's not the right, their own personal, everything that's their own turmoils, everything that's going in their head, and there's loads of subtext, particularly with that song. But I always worry that if Disney thought they could make money from, well, let's have Elsa as a queer character, I don't think kind of what you talked about, Maria, I don't, it'll not be an experience, it'll be kind of how they can capitalize on that and lean into that. And I think it's better when it's fandom and people bring in their own stories, because as the late great Roger Ebert says, cinema is an empathy generator. What we can bring to those stories, and we can kind of pull from threads together. That's just me, but I don't know. You as the person kind of identifies as queer, Victoria, I mean, what do you think?
I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat as yourselves. Like, as much as I would love to see Elsa quote unquote come out. I feel like if Disney were going to do that, it would be a cash grab. It would only be to make money. I don't feel like there'd be any sincerity in it. And they would either lean into the queer side so much to the point where it becomes kind of patronizing, or they would just hint at it and it would mean nothing. So I'd rather they just kind of let Elsa, Anna, Kristoff explore their own stories in whatever way they want. And if they're going to do a queer character in the future, save it for a new original story. Don't retroactively put it into something. Like, don't randomly do it in like film 4 of a 6-film franchise.
Can't agree more. Like, yeah, it has to be there from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, let's be honest. Frozen 3, Anna is going to suddenly discover that she has powers. That's what you're going to get, and it's going to be a sense that, because they make a big thing in Frozen 2 about how, oh, I'm the normal one, I don't have powers, and you're just like, well, yeah, and I guess you're going to have. I think at the end of Frozen 2, Kristoff proposes, so you've got the wedding, you've got all that kind of stuff. What Frozen 2 does better than Frozen 2 leaves it open for, we want to return to this world, we have other stories to tell, we have new characters, we have Elsa and Anna, they're separated now. Like, Elsa doesn't even show up for Anna's kind of coronation. Like, my lovely wife was watching, goes, okay, she's going to come down and play, charades on Friday night, but she's not coming down for her sister's coronation. I'm getting bad vibes. Okay, I love Elsa, but come on, sisters, got to be together. But Frozen 2 opens that world out much more than what Frozen does, and I guess maybe that was the whole point of it, the sense that they could leave little breadcrumbs for themselves, which they probably didn't think they needed to do with the first Frozen. And I think we were talking about this in the TV show, I don't think it made the cut, how Moana, so we've had Moana 2, Moana was out after Frozen, if I'm right, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2016.
Yeah, it was out after. We already have the Moana live action. I think it's next year, maybe the year after, is going to be out. Not even with new cast, you've got Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson coming back. And hey, as much as I love Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in Moana, I think it's weird that that's already a live action. Don't get me started on Lilo and Stitch. Don't. But
we don't talk about that.
Frozen, Disney have made this big thing. We're not going to touch it. Frozen's just a special place. And I guess it's because Frozen 2, the animated, still is making them money. I guess through all the merchandise and everything. I speak behind us. I've got a little Frozen bag here. It's not mine. It is my lovely wife's, but I think I bought her this because it had Frozen stuff. So it still makes money for them. I guess once it stops making money and they go, well, we can't really make money from Elsa being a queer character. Fuck it, let's just do a live action Frozen. And it's going to be inevitable. After watching Wicked, you go, well, all the stuff like Hamilton on the big screen is going to be inevitable. Because Frozen is from that Broadway. It's such a broad... And I've seen it on Broadway. Well, I've seen the West End version of it. And it is good. They condense it. They kind of take stuff out that doesn't work. I don't think the troll characters are in the stage production. They kind of change out...
R.I.P. Kieran Hines.
Sorry, Kieran. But, well, Kieran Hines just walks on. Hello, I'm Kieran Hines. What about you? And it's weird, but I think possibly you might have both kind of in a weird way answered this question. You two are more resident Disney queens than me. Much more. I mean, I kind of drop in and out with Disney. But you've both... It's okay. I caveat that point by saying Brian watched it with a dodgy bootleg copy. But you've both saw Frozen. You only saw Moana on a flight, and it wasn't even your first choice, Maria.
Nope.
Brown, who's the biggest Disney person I know, hasn't bothered to watch Moana. So there you go. That's a sense of, like, you can see why they're like, well, someone like Brown, you missed Moana, you haven't seen Moana 2, maybe you'll go to the live action. But don't touch Frozen. Let's be honest, like Frozen, if the live action Frozen's, it's inevitable. Ariana Grande as Elsa.
I think it's Anya Taylor-Joy.
Ooh.
I don't know, the fan
Right
cast,
now you're swaying me.
there's a lot. I mean, in my head I was going like, what would they do for Frozen 3? Base, is it the royal wedding? Is it a royal engagement? Who knows? But like, yeah, the question is if they did a live action, is it just shot for shot, or are they
Of
gonna do
course it
like
is.
Mufasa?
Of course it's going to be a live action remake, shot for shot. And people will still go get money, and then they'll have somebody else doing a version of Let It Go, and they'll be like, she really made it her own. She really, she changed it, and I feel that song now. She's brought that song to a whole new audience, and I can hear a generation of parents just weeping in despair, going, no, we just got over Adina's version. Now we're going to have to listen to Ariana Grande's, Lady Gaga's, well, Lady Gaga be too old by that point, her version of Let It Go.
To be fair,
Sam Smith Sam Smith with his version of Let It Go. That's what you'll get.
I think my question in the live action though is it's not who's playing any of the sisters. It's what will they do to make Olaf happen, and will it resemble the 1990s film Jack Frost?
Well, maybe what they could do is they could just do like a hot frosty, and she could wear like a hot frost, and she could wear a little magical scarf, and he becomes real. They'll CGI him.
You're gonna give Olaf abs?
Yeah,
Nice.
because I'm trying. They'll do that with the horse will be less of a character, but I'm trying to think. There is a recent. I know. Well, look at Lilo and Stitch. That's going to be live action, but you're going to have a CGI Stitch.
Ooh, that's actually given me like the ick thinking about that.
Look, I'm sitting here going, and we're all going, ooh, I'm going to go watch it because I love
Yeah.
Lilo and Stitch. I mean, I have my little phone cover, and it's got a little Stitch on the back of it. I love Stitch. And I love that the first 10 minutes of that film, when Stitch, on this Frozen Disney Christmas special, the first 10 minutes of Lilo and Stitch, when he just comes to Earth and just goes on a rampage of destruction and anger, top tier Disney. Frozen, Let It
My
Go,
boy.
Lilo and Stitch. Forget all your Snow White nonsense. Stitch just with his laser gun trying to destroy inanimate objects. I'm a fucking inanimate object. Top tier Disney. Sorry.
Can't wait to see that version. Just Stitch effing and blinding wildly.
I
R-rated
would
Lilo and
pay.
Stitch.
I love it. I would happily pay to see that film.
Do you
But no,
think?
like, oh, sorry, I just was rambling.
No, I was genuine when you were saying about like live actions. I'm like, was Frozen like the beginning of the live action era? Like, as in, like, did
No.
that happen around the same time?
I think they were in around the same time because there was all that talk because you had Maleficent, sorry. I can't say it, my dyslexic brain. That was around there. And
Yeah.
hey, we haven't even mentioned on this Frozen Christmas special the trailer for the new Snow White. That just looks all kind of weird. Yeah, it looks all kind of weird. But I think you had that. I guess, well, that would be because you had Enchanted. You had Enchanted, and then there was kind of Tangled. And that was kind of, then you had kind of, I'm maybe getting my time zone. You had the Princess and the Frog.
No, 'cause
Yeah,
I think that's right
2009.
because
Yeah.
I think that was kind of a stagnant era for Disney, and then Frozen brought back their animation.
Because I think you had the Princess and the Frog. And then you kind of had suddenly Disney looking back at their old stuff. Because I don't think you had the kind of, oh, let's be clever. And I know recently you've had Cruella and you've had Maleficent. But I'm certain there has been. I know you've had Aladdin.
How can we
There's
forget?
been the Lily James Cinderella. There's been Emma Watson's Beauty and the Beast. There was that god awful Tim Burton Dumbo. The Lion King.
I like the
love
Cinderella
it.
one, though. I like Cinderella live action.
I
I think
really
was
loved Beauty and the Beast.
I think Cinderella was the first. Was it not of that kind of...
I think it was the first of that kind of caliber. But
Yeah.
Maria, do you only like Beauty and the Beast because you're in love with Dan Stevens?
It's a big part. It's a big part. I
That song Evermore is, I love that song.
It's great. They brought songs from the Broadway show, and anyway, I went to see it I think 5 times in the cinema because Dublin Road Cinema was still alive, and they did 3 £50 tickets on a Tuesday, which coincided with one of my classes ending just before it would screen. But yeah, I loved that film that's the thing is there's never been a live action I've enjoyed as much, like anywhere near as much. And I love it for all of its problematic ways. But yeah, I don't know. If there was a Frozen live action, I don't think it would hit the same.
No.
I don't think it would.
Well,
There's too much magic, ironically.
look, I guess we're gonna sit here now. 2024? I don't know why I had to think about that. We are gonna get a Frozen live action. It's inevitable. And what'll probably happen? I don't think it'll happen as soon as that. I reckon. So what? We're 10 years now. We're 11 years.
11 years.
I
Yeah.
would say in about around the 20th anniversary, there will be a remake, a live action remake, because by Disney's head, marketing men and women will decide that the kids, younger people that went to see Frozen, might by that stage, they might have maybe 2030, might have started to have their own families, might be becoming adults, and then they're like, let's take those people who loved Frozen when they were younger, they can now take their kids, take them to the live, because that's how producers work. That's how they treat IPs. They go, we have this product, and I hate calling cinema product, but that's how they look at it. Particularly, and Disney are the worst at this. They go, there is a product. How can we get as much money? And you look at the fact, like you have Mufasa back in the cinema, or in the cinema, coming up to Christmas. I don't know anyone loved that first one, but it still made a shitload of money. I don't think Mufasa will be a massive hit for Disney, but I think it'll make them enough money that you'll probably have another.
No.
And sadly, we won't get, isn't it Scar's son? Maybe, isn't it Lion King 2? Yeah.
The love of my life. Yes.
Everybody had a little crush.
Little crush?
No.
Every girl of a certain age listening to this podcast is nodding.
That's true. There are certain characters of Disney's different eras, and it's just like, yeah, they're a dreamboat. Aladdin, Flynn, etc., etc.
Kristoff is up there on my list now, just for pure adorable.
That's true. That is true.
There's people out there going. Sorry, there's people of there a certain ages going, Olaf. Yeah.
Whatever floats your boat.
I see inevitable. Do that person that does the TikTok video where it's like, oh, watching like, I don't know, some random film, and it's like the villain, and they go, he's dependable, and they're like, it's a lady swooning, he's dependable, gets results. I'm gonna see someone doing that with Olaf. He just wants to cuddle. He loves the summer. He wants to go to... Is it where he wants to go to? Is it Hawaii he wants to go to? Where does it... Olaf wants to go somewhere sunny.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah, he just wants to go.
Oh.
Can I tell a slightly tangential story?
Of course.
Again.
I like the fact that you say now after we've went through a lot of tangents. You're like, could I possibly tell a tangential story, please?
A little bit more tangential. When I was watching the film, and obviously he's singing in summer, I was reminded of the fact that I went to a musical themed restaurant in New York with a friend. I can't remember the name now. It's like the Stardust Diner or something.
Is that the one where they all go around the piano?
Oh yeah.
And the bucket comes around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And one of the performers was someone who had performed on the Disney cruises as Olaf. And I gotta say, pretty banging. It was a great song. Great performance. And as I ate my meatball sub, I enjoyed it thoroughly.
With a little tear running down your cheek.
Huge tears.
He doesn't know he's gonna melt.
Yeah, nothing more relatable.
He can't go to the sun. He'll just become a puddle. You were like, I'm gonna tell him. Can I just say, actually, can I just say, bring it back to Frozen. And I know everyone wants to go to bed and wrap up on this Frozen Christmas special, but I'm not gonna lie, because Frozen 2, there's an unfortunate event involving Olaf, and it was around the time we had the Avengers stuff going on, and some of the Avengers had been snapped, and something similar happens to Olaf, and I genuinely got in the cinema watching that. I got a little bit caught up, going, not Olaf 2, not Thanos, you bastard. But can I just say one thing, and this is actually not even a tangential Jim McClean ramble. What the fuck am I talking about? One of my favourite songs in all of the Frozen movies, and I feel bad because the name of it has went out of my head, but it's Anna in Frozen 2, and it's her song about grief and talking about, living with... It's a song about depression, and it's genuinely amazing. There's a song about like 1 foot forward, and it's anytime I watch it, I always get a little bit, gets me in the feels. But it's just such a we're talking about Kristoff and talking about him talking about his feelings. There's a song again, 42-year-old man, I will blub, but I think it's always important, it's okay to not be okay. I know that's the kind of cliche, cheesy thing that's like a phrase means much, much more. That song in Frozen 2, the songs in Frozen 2 are bangers. It's just that the film itself, all the stuff that connects them is just a little bit meh, and it's like you needed to have another go at the script. But like even kind of come back to like this the kind of queer subtext that we have with Elsa. We see even with Into the Unknown, and there's other songs where she's like, I don't know, I'm happy here, I don't want change, this, that, other thing. Come back to Frozen 2, the inevitability of change. You can't resist it. But that song with Anna is a banger. Sorry.
You know what? I think on that note, we are done. We have talked Frozen, Frozen 2, Frozen 24, apparently, to death.
Brian wouldn't let me talk about Frozen Fever, the greatest short movie Disney has ever produced. Elsa gets a cold.
I think the New Year special should be we all watch Frozen Fever, and we come up
6 minutes short. A 6 minute short. We talk about it for 3 hours, 20 minutes.
Because we could do our own writers' workshop and give them a few free ideas for Frozen 3, just to help them out, help a friend.
I'm not giving Disney anything for free.
I don't know any ideas. Can I possibly go to Disney World to help you write the next Frozen?
That's what I'm aiming for, free tickets.
Yeah, on that note, after we present our groundbreaking ideas to Disney, I think we will call it a night, dear listeners. Maria, my lovely co-host, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This has been a joy and a delight.
A joy and delight. Jim McClean, thank you so much for being our esteemed guest and taking a step back from being the host for once. I think sometimes it's nice to have you relax.
Cheeks on my blowout. Thank you.
You didn't even talk about him. Anyway.
We've rambled too much. We're very good ramblers. But yes, we are BanterFlix. We need to talk about Disney, and we will be back in 2025 with a brand new series. Goodbye.
Yoo-hoo.
Bye. Yoo-hoo.